Hello and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today I'm just going to dip into something that kept me trapped when I was actually mentally and physically in a place to diet, but I still fell victim. I thought I was mentally ready, but I wasn't. It wasn't until my one with Luke. I ended up getting him a little confused in this podcast. I know a lot of you are stuck in this place, so I hope this helps. So you started on your plan and you started seeing results. Your clothes fit better, you felt good, you felt tighter, and you thought, how do I keep this going? Or worse, what if I lose it? I want to just speed it up a little bit and then I'll pull it back after. Just push it along a bit faster for now and try to get a little bit more off quickly, and then I'll just increase my calories back to what they should be. So you train even harder, you tell yourself it's just for a little while, you'll hit your goal for this period, and then you'll just fix it again. But then you hit a place where either something happens because you can't really predict life, or your body stops responding and you feel more tired, hungrier, you feel like you need a lot more recovery. So without even realizing, your nutrition starts to become a little bit more sloppy. And then you notice it, the nibbling, the little bits and bites that you usually don't have. And that's when you start questioning your discipline. And if you even have your, like, what's going on? I'm usually more disciplined than this. I'll just get my shit together. I'll be better next week. You don't know why you keep nibbling. It's just something that you keep realizing is sneaking in. And it's not really a matter of you not being disciplined. It's more so the trap of you got yourself in a really good place to diet already. You did the work. And now in trying to speed it up and holding on to progress by gripping even harder, you found yourself in unintentional maintenance where you're trying to diet, but your body is pushing you into the opposite direction. So you're pretty much eating maintenance calories, just much, much lower. And because of that, your quality of life and your energy of living has went from level 10, where we finally built you up to, or where you finally built yourself up to, if you even gave yourself the chance, to now you're down here on lower calories, a suppressed maintenance, and you're kind of in this limbo where you're not even fueling enough to build muscle, to even recover, to be thriving, but you're also not in a place where you can be losing fat. So you're not even allowing yourself a chance to get to a place to potentiate future fat loss. If anything, grinding further through this phase is going to make it harder for you long term, because now your whole mental state, your whole physiology, everything is getting less and getting less because you keep fighting yourself. So even though you feel like you're doing okay most days, you're kind of tricking yourself into thinking that you're doing the work, that this is working, that you're just going to go a little bit more. But if your steps are down, your lifting sucks, your recovery sucks, you're ending up in a worse place. And everything that you worked so hard for outside of fat loss, if you did give yourself that chance, is getting undone. And this is why the mental state of getting yourself in a place to diet is so important. But even when you are in a mental place to diet, we can become our own worst enemies. And this is why coaching is so important. But you need to be able to trust the calls that are made as well, because it is very difficult to put yourself in. It's almost like something takes over us. Honestly, it really is, because the dopamine of seeing results, and like, if you haven't truly done the work outside, because sometimes we can feel like we're there, but we are kids of the 80s and the 90s. This is everything opposite that we've ever been taught and fed. And if you're in your 40s and your 50s, you got fed the worst shit as it is. So being scared to increase our calories, being scared for the scale to go up, that we're going to undo the progress, that we're not yet where we need to be, that we don't want the scale to go over a certain number now, or we don't want to eat over a certain number of carbs or calories because we just did a diet phase and we started feeling really good, quote unquote. We started seeing results again and feeling better in our clothes, quote unquote. Did you truly get yourself to the right place before you started dieting? Or did you just think that you did because things felt different, because you haven't been in a diet for long enough? It's a trap. Like, it honestly is. I've been there and I've done it and I failed my first proper diet when I thought that I got myself to the right place. I spent years not being in the right place for a diet, trying to lose, and just ending up fluffier and waterier. Like I really felt like just inflamed. I thought everything was wrong with me. My hormones were screwed. I was looking up everything to do with why am I so inflamed? Is it this? Is it that? My belly was just it like I was soft. My body was fighting me because I was fighting myself, and it made matters worse when I had to keep trying to cut and cut and cut to get my weight under a certain number for my powerlifting comps, because then I needed to be under a certain number. So I just kept adding fuel to the fire. And then when I finally got myself in a place to diet, I got caught up with it and I tried to speed it up. Luckily, I was able to work myself through that mindset, because my biggest fear there was I didn't want to see my number go over a certain number on the scale. I didn't want to see it go above a certain number because I spent so long trying to get it under my weigh-in number for powerlifting that I felt like I was burning steam off all ends, fatigued as hell, doing all the work, adding in finishes, acting like a total buffoon with everything. And then I thought I got myself into a place to diet, saw results, and then I was trapped to the scale. That isn't where you'd want to be. This was when I first started powerlifting, when I didn't have a weight class. And then I started seeing results because I was in a place where I was like eating a lot more food, fueling. And then that's when I just didn't want to get back above it. And then I almost fell into the same trap with Luke. I didn't want to get my number back up again because it was scary to have to go through that same struggle again. Regardless of whether I got the time frames right or not, the whole essence of that is what I know many of you get so frustrated with, because you tell yourself that you'll just tighten things up and finish the phase properly, and then you'll get back to building. But it just becomes a trap. And that's when you end up stuck for months. And that's what I want to break down here. Why your body stops responding, why discipline isn't the problem. It's not a matter of tightening things up again and just getting your shit together so you can finish it off and get back up. And it's not a matter of, I'll just do it again. I'll just try again. Because the longer that you keep telling yourself that, the harder it's going to not only feel to break out of it, but you're going to have to travel a lot longer to get back to where you are now, to then get back to where you were before you started the diet, to then get back to a place where you can potentiate the next fat loss phase. You're just making it more likely your body is not going to respond. So it's time to rebuild trust in yourself and in your body without spiraling, because telling yourself that it's just a little more, or I just need to tighten it up just a little bit more, never works long term, because chances are that's kind of what you've been trying. Because if your body is not recovering, if you're nibbling here and there, flattening out in your gym sessions, feeling like you need a deload, your body is trying to protect you from this very thing, and so is your mind. Life happens. Don't earn more calories. I've said this in many podcasts, but it is so important to reiterate. You don't earn getting out of a diet phase. This is why the pre-diet phase is so important. You need to get yourself to a place where you trust yourself enough that you can lose it and you can get out of it. But you also need to realize that we do not diet our way to the end goal. Fat loss phases are just that. They're a phase. And just because you start eating more does not mean that you're going to lose it all or gain it all back. Maintenance calories are just that. It does not mean you're maintaining either. It means that you are now in a place where you can start focusing on the things that we were focusing on before you went into a fat loss phase. We can start building your performance up again, building your energy up again, getting rid of the diet fatigue, and giving yourself some steam so that we can go into the next diet phase with just as much boom and bang and buck as you had outside of fat loss. So then it's kind of like sped up for a little bit longer, and then it starts to go back to its usual pace versus this sluggish pace where you're going really sluggishly, but then you're going back and forth because you tried to get a little bit too greedy with the progress. Because we're not robots. Things don't happen the way that science says it should happen on paper. Many times when they do studies, it's in a laboratory. Things are controlled. It's a lot easier to get to the end outcome when you follow a set strategy. But in the real world, things pop up. Some things can make it a lot harder. And if we don't take into account that there is other stresses outside of what we think is stress, like I feel stressed. Dieting's a stress, training's a stress. So you can easily tell yourself that those things aren't stresses when you want an outcome so bad, but it doesn't stop them from being stresses. You can say that things aren't impacting you, but it doesn't stop it from having an effect on you. So there is no point being in this place where you are not effectively getting the most out of a fat loss phase, yet not eating enough to build, because that sucks. That is what I call diet mindset. That is what I call diet mindset, no physical dieting, or limbo, because nothing's really happening except you're frustrating yourself and you're exerting effort with no reward. And that's the worst place to be, because you're someone who's usually really disciplined. You're someone who wants this, yet nothing is going to change and nothing will change until you allow yourself to get back out of that and get back to where you were before. So stop blaming yourself, because it's not your fault that you were conditioned this way, but it is up to you now to make the decisions you need to make to start progressing again. That's what we need to do. So what we're going to do now is to pivot and to rebuild, and to kind of make yourself realize that this isn't backtracking. This is forward progress. We need to zoom out and we need to realign with why we're doing this in the first place. What was this all about? It was to feel better. It was to get stronger. It was to have more energy. And it was to be confident that we are in control of our progress and our results. And right now we clearly aren't, because we're putting in the effort without that. We're white knuckling. We're trying to get stricter. We're not here to just chase smaller and smaller. We're here for body composition. We're here for health. We're here to feel good and look good. And currently, regardless of how much you try to fool yourself, you're not there. Nothing feels as good as feeling well fueled while living in a body that you created, that you stuck through the grit. Because then when you allow yourself to do fat loss phases in the most effective manner, that is when change happens. That is when you know that no matter what happens, you are going to make the best decision in that moment and results are going to follow. So it's about now getting back to training with real intensity. It's getting back to eating and fueling like someone who wants to build a body composition, like someone who wants to build muscle. It's time to let go again of any metrics of fat loss as your scoreboard. It's about getting those numbers back on the paper, getting those numbers lifting back up and recovering well, feeling well fueled for your sessions and feeling well recovered for the next one. So you can keep pushing harder, doing what you do on purpose and with purpose without little things coming in snackadentally, because the results that you want that last, they aren't about forcing a process that isn't working anymore. It's about knowing when what you're doing isn't serving you right now and trusting that the next step is going to be the best step. So instead of trying to grip through another fat loss phase or reduce your deficit and just go slower or go in and out of here and there within lower calories, actually do a proper diet break like I spoke about on the last podcast. Allow yourself to do that so that when you do go, like you tell me, what would you rather do? Would you rather get the fat loss that you need to do over and done with and then eat a lot more calories, thrive, feel good, have more flexibility, feel more in control? Or would you rather be in this in and out where you're not even eating enough for your body to be in its most optimal state, where you're not actually in a state to be building muscle either? You're either barely hanging on to muscle or slightly losing it, because you don't build muscle in a deficit. And if you're in and out of fat loss like that and not actually spending a long period of time in maintenance, muscle still isn't being built. Performance isn't being enhanced. What would happen if you gave yourself another 6 months of strategic building instead of another 6 weeks of chasing leaner and smaller? Especially if you've been in this pedaling for a while. And if you're listening to this and you haven't been in this pedaling for all that long, and you're contemplating just a little bit longer, maybe I stop you just in time so you don't need to give it longer than you need to give it if you still have that fat to lose. But remember, life isn't just about dieting. The goal is to get yourself into a place where you don't need to diet again. It's just that so many women have spent most of their lives doing everything but that. So now it's going to take a much longer process, but a more strategic process, because things that worked before are not going to work the same now. It's changed. Life has changed. You've changed, especially if you are over the age of 40. There is now perimenopause to take into consideration. The time span is longer, but it is possible, more than possible. You just need to lean on yourself, trust yourself, and get yourself that strategy. And if you need help with that strategy so you can stop pulling out your seats and start seeing progress, message me on Instagram or comment on this podcast. You deserve to feel strong, energized, confident. You deserve to feel in control of your food and to stop letting it control you. You deserve to feel like you're moving in the right direction instead of just thinking that you are, because you are so focused on the outcome that you don't realize what's going on around you. Honestly, take that zoom out and remember, like zoom out, realign. Because I thought that I was always, because of the effort that I was putting in, I thought I was always. But it was only when I was sitting alone with my emotions, with my thoughts and reflecting, that I started beating up on myself again, realizing that I wasn't. But as soon as every single morning started, I'm like, nah, fuck that. I was gonna, but no, I can do it this time. But it never happened. So if this resonates with you, also please let me know, and you'll hear me on the next episode.